It's that time. Everything and anything basketball, presented by The Outrage. With Kajan Thiru and host Spencer Byers, this is Polar Opposites.
Welcome, everyone, to episode, I think it's 19, but regardless, Polar Opposites, regular schedule programming after the WNBA Finals Game 4, win for the Aces over the Liberty. Spencer Byers, Kajan, Thiru, thank you for joining us. But as I just said, we will be talking a little bit of a recap of the WNBA Finals we did cover yesterday. We're going to skip on player top 10 positional groups because we're going to leave that to Monday because a bunch of stuff has happened. In only 3 days, Cage. 3 days? A bunch of stuff's happened. WNBA Finals is now over. The Raptors have made a comment on their lawsuit. Kevin Porter Jr.'s been traded and allegedly waived. James Harden, we were going to talk about him last week. Guess what? He's created even more headlines in Philly. Thank God we didn't talk about him on Monday. You know, Adam Silver making more headlines, kind of trying to change stuff about the NBA. This time it's the All-Star game. And just talk about some more preseason action, specifically the newest Washington Wizard. The newest man in the USA nation's capital, Jordan Poole, having some good games in the preseason. And again, not limited minutes because, again, these guys aren't playing full 35, 36-minute games. They're only playing usually between 30 and less.
And that makes sense because it's preseason. Why are you going all out for preseason?
Exactly, because, again, Cage, who cares about the preseason?
Who cares?
Not even you or I care about the preseason. But as we mentioned,
the preseason? The preseason?
You know, you can't even say, we talk about practice. We're talking about preseason. Not the regular season, not the playoffs. We're talking about preseason.
Oh, I was more or less imitating what Greg Popovich said to Craig Sager.
Oh God. R.I.P. to the great Craig Sager.
All-time great with his questionable choice of suits.
I'll never forget KG. Was it at the All-Star game when KG told him, I know you never wear a suit twice, but I want you to take this, and I want you to burn it.
Burn it to the ground.
Can't even get the socks. Can't even get the socks, the shoes, everything. Gotta go burn it. It's such a great bit by the great KG. And again, he is no longer with us, sadly, because he was a great part of the TNT crew that we still luckily have. But back to, as I mentioned, WNBA Finals has finished. The Las Vegas Aces lost one game on their road to a second straight WNBA Championship, the first team that did two-peat since the Los Angeles Sparks, back in 01-02. We'll see if they can continue this run, be the first team to three-peat since the Houston Comets won the first 4 WNBA championships from 1990. I think it was 1997, 8, 9, and then 2000. They won 4 straight chips, Cage. So we'll see if the Aces can continue their dominant run or if another season of seasoning for the Liberty will be able to change this result. But a 70-69 win for the Aces. And you and I got to take the people that were not there last night through this. So we knew Chelsea Gray was going to be hurt because of the foot injury. So we knew that she wasn't going to be able to play. We then come to find out, as we start the broadcast, Kia Stokes is in a walking boot and crutches. She will not be playing the starting center. So you're without your starting point guard and starting center, plus you're missing your starting center from the start of the season because Candace Parker injured her foot in July. So now you're short 3 bodies that all have played significant minutes this year, which means you have to make your 6th player of the year, reigning 6th player of the year, in Alicia Clark start, and other players that did not normally get minutes in this playoff run in this game. And, might I add, that if the game got out of hand for either side, there was no real way of playing in your reserves because with the WNBA rules of only being able to dress 10 players, the Aces only had 8 players available of the 10 they're allowed.
Mm.
So they had everything stacked against them in Game 4 in Brooklyn as the Liberty tried to force a Game 5 back in Las Vegas. But the Liberty, for some reason, played arguably their worst game of the WNBA Finals in the most pivotal game they've played this season. And it obviously, from the loss, 70-69, did not go their way. Cage, what did you see last night from the Aces that, I guess I'll try to word the question, but how awestruck were you last night with the Las Vegas Aces?
Very, very, considering how it was looking heading into it. 2 starters out for the Aces. They've been playing with a ton of depth issues. Where 4 members of the Aces, and I want to go through the names here: Sydney Colson, Kayla George, Kirsten Bell, and I do want to say,
I know it is a lot. The last player's coach. She never played a minute, even as they were short of bench. They didn't play. Kirsten Bell only played 1 minute in Game 4.
and I'm gonna take it back to like the offseason. Dearica Hamby gets traded under less than ideal circumstances. Becky Hammond gets suspended a couple of games because of that. Racuna Williams was supposed to be a big part of that team, but then was sent away due to domestic violence allegations. Candace Parker plays for 18 games, but then gets hurt in July. Doesn't play the rest of the season or postseason. And then Chelsea Gray and Kia Stokes get hurt in Game 3 and don't play in a pivotal Game 4. Down 10 at the end of the first quarter. But after that first quarter, defensively, something clicked for the Aces. Well, something did click for the Aces, but also the Liberty just were playing with their heads cut off.
They really stalled, Cage.
I wouldn't say stalled, like they sputtered and went backwards. If that's
Well,
ever.
if you're at a standard, if you stall, you're going to go backwards, depending on how flat the road is.
Yeah. Nah. To me, they went backwards on a flat road.
They went backwards back up the hill. They were going the wrong direction and up down. They were going down the hill and they started going back up the hill.
Bleh. But I was amazed. Given like the context and the circumstances. But watching that game throughout, eventually, like the way that was going, and the way the Aces like kept fighting back and not letting up. I think midway through the third quarter, I knew that like I'm like, I won't be surprised if the Aces pull this off. Because this has been going on. They've been letting them, the Liberty were letting them hang in for way too long. And if you let a team like that hang in for way too long, they're going to have confidence. Nerves are going to kick in for the Liberty. And in a situation like that, it favors the team who's playing for nothing to lose. Well, they did have something to lose because it would be a winner-take-all Game 5. But nobody would have expected the Aces to win given those circumstances that they were in.
You and I definitely didn't. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I did stick with my prediction before the stream started that I thought the Las Vegas Aces would find a way to win, and they damn did, Cajun, might I add. But I do want to say, we have memed each other. We have given each other props. So I'm going to give myself my flowers, Cajun. I took the goddamn flowers from the flower shop. I said in game 1, the Aces, if they win this game with this wide of a scoreline, which they did, and then got it even greater in game 2, this series will not go back to Vegas for game 5. The Liberty will not get there. And Kajan, they had a great game 3. They gave us a facade in game 3 that this Liberty team could do it in game 4. A healthy Aces team. They could beat the Aces in game 4, send them to a game 5, and then who knows what happens in a game 5. Can Liberty be the first team ever to come back down 0-2 in the WNBA Finals and WNBA playoffs as a whole, which is now they are the 0-18th team in the playoffs to go down 0-2 and the 0-8th or 0-9th team, pardon me, in the finals to go down 0-2 and then lose in the series.
Mm. Well, you also did call Asia Wilson being Finals MVP. I gotta give you your flowers on that.
She had 24 points, 16 rebounds, a steal, and a block to boot. She was amazing in the game. And Cage, you said it during the stream, and I know it's kind of a dumb thing to say because it's obvious, but sometimes you just got to say the obvious thing, Cage. Your best player needs to be the best player when clutch time happens. Aja Wilson was the best player on the floor for the third and fourth quarter. And she was great before that. But her shot wasn't falling every time. It was kind of inconsistent. She was at 1.5 for 12 from the floor. She ended above 50%. So she really heated up in the second half, which is why the Aces came back from down by 10, 9 at the half. They went down 39-30 at the half. And were able to have a great third quarter and then able to keep it in the fourth quarter.
And on the other end of that, as I'm looking at the box score here.
Oh God, Breanna Stewart's horrible night. Could not have gone worse for the reigning MVP, I don't think.
Honestly, she didn't really have a good finals just in general.
Like again, we talked about it with game 1 and game 2. No one did for the Liberty. It never really other than Jonquil Jones, who had a good game 1, 2, and 3, and then she had easily her worst game of the WNBA Finals in game 4. Easily her worst game, offensively and defensively, in my opinion.
And I'm literally going through this right now. And looking at this postseason, she didn't really shoot the ball well at all. Breanna Stewart, under 36% from the field, under 20% from downtown. Now, mind you, she went 87% from the free throw line and rebounded the ball great throughout, averaging 10.2 rebounds per game. But game 1, 9 for 20. Game 2, 8 for 19. Game 3, 6 for 17. Actually, no, that's a lie. Game 1 was 8 for 19. Game 2 was 6 for 17. Game 3, she actually shot 50%, but game 4, 10 points, 14 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals. Not really a bad stat line until you realize she shot 3 of 17 from the field. 3 of 17.
Which, Cajun, if you're not a math major, which you and I are not, we are broadcasting majors, that is 17% from the floor. 17.6% from the floor. By God. The MVP can't do that in a series clinching game for either side.
And I'm looking at this, and Courtney Vandersloot had 19.
She led the team. Easily her best game of the finals. So can't blame her, even though she missed the game-winning game-winning shot at the end of the game, which when the ball was never supposed to get that far. If you rewatch that sequence, Stewart caught it, got doubled, fired it to Laney. Laney fired it to Vandersloot, and Vandersloot had to shoot. So I'm not sure if Courtney was supposed to get that ball.
Vandersloot low-key did have a bit of time to pump fake, step into a mid-range, because she did release the ball with 2.5 seconds to go.
Yeah, but Cage, I think the reality is, and I've seen this a lot, at the high school level, and I'm not trying to compare high school levels to the professionals, but still, when the pressure's on, you know, you don't really think. It's more just do, and you don't think about clock, or you just catch the ball and there's no time on the clock. You just gotta fire. There's no thought of, okay, I can take my time. I can I can do my thing. It's okay. I caught the ball. I gotta fire because I can't. If I take a dribble cage and that what buzzer goes off, like or not RJ Smith, J.R.
Where?
Smith
Oh, JR.
with that classic move when he caught the ball and ran the wrong direction and LeBron's screaming at him, pointing towards the basket, and they go to overtime.
Or as I like to call him, I don't know if I should say it. Never mind.
Oh, Kajan rethought it. Well, you know what? Fair enough. Trying to keep my editing works to a minimum.
Yeah.
But you know, it just compounded for the Liberty. And again, they did not play well in the series. Do not let, if anyone's trying to convince you, don't let them lie to you. You and I watched all 4 games. We streamed all 4 games. You can go back and watch any one quarter of any one game of the WNBA Finals. We have all 4 quarters. We have all 16 quarters of the WNBA Finals up on the page. You can rewatch any which one, which I think you should, by the way. We did do a pretty good job, Cajun, if I don't say so myself. But you can go back and listen to us. And you and I specifically, I guess, because you and I obviously did it, were rather upset with the Liberty offense. We didn't think it was optimal. I still don't think it was optimal, even in Game 4, because, again, they strayed away from feeding the post and Jonquel Jones and Breonna Stewart. They settled for a lot of bad shots, a lot of easy shots in relation to trying to force the post. They were settling for lazy threes, and they weren't falling. All night weren't falling. And
you know what really upsets me as I'm looking at this stat line right now? I know Ionescu didn't shoot the ball bad, and Vandersloot had her best game of the series. And Laney actually shot decent, 6 of 13 from the field, 15 points. But look at the shot attempts from the starting lineup. Jonquel Jones only had 8 shot attempts. Like, your best player throughout 3 games of that series ends up only getting 8 shots. What are we doing? Like, that right there pinpoints why they lost. Went away from what was working. Try to force feed Breonna Stewart, who clearly did not have it in Game 4. And I thought Jonquel Jones just struggled. I'm like, when you take 8 shots, I'm like, you are going to struggle. If you're not being fed the ball enough, you are going to struggle. And in fairness, she did struggle defensively to a great degree guarding Asia Wilson. But the Liberty, and we can unequivocally say that Jonquel Jones was the Liberty's best player offensively through the series, at least throughout the first 3 games. To see that she only took 8 shots in the entirety of a must-win Game 4 is unacceptable.
I can't disagree with you. I think the former MVP should have been more involved, and you and I were screaming it from the rooftops throughout this series that she should have been getting the ball more. And obviously, it strayed away from that game plan in Game 4, and surprisingly again, Cage, because who was out for the Aces? Their starting point guard and their starting center, and that's times 2 if you include Candace Parker from earlier in the season. So without Candace Parker, without Kia Stokes, and I'm not saying Kayla George did bad, by the way. She did fantastic and played so many minutes that you and I did not expect were going to be quality minutes. And she did shoot the ball a little too much, in my opinion, but she had some shots. Like
she hit some shots, and she to a degree kept the Liberty defense honest, and she had back-to-back threes in that third quarter that really gave the Aces life. One of probably the 3 unsung heroes of that game. Sydney Colson being The second one, playing with 5 fouls, but guarding exceptionally well and being a part of that closing lineup for the Aces down the stretch. Because we've been talking about how terrible the Liberty were offensively, but we can't but I want to give the Aces their flowers here too. Jackie Young, great bounce back game after he done in game 3, 6 of 11, and hit some big shots down the stretch. Including including a layup that gave the Aces the lead for good. Kelsey Plum struggled with her shot, but for the most part had an amazing finals.
She struggled in game 4 with her shot, as you mentioned, but she had 29, a career high in the playoffs in game 3 in a loss. So she had her moments throughout this series.
Kayla George, like you mentioned, played exceptionally well. Kept the defense honest, and I gotta say, she had some really good passes to cutters, especially to Kelsey Plum. We counted 2 of them. Can't say enough about Asia Wilson. Statline speaks for itself, and the way she dominated on the inside speaks for itself. She had 15 of her 24 in the second half when it mattered the most. But Alicia Clark offensively had struggled in this finals. Easily her best performance. 10 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists. But I think what's more underrated was the work she did on Breanna Stewart. She did guarding Breanna Stewart, because that was crucial for limiting the reigning MVP to 3 of 17 shooting as, I would say, her primary defender, because I think Asia Wilson was more or less so guarding Jones.
They switched a lot.
But she did, for somebody that's undersized compared to the two of them, to Jones and Stewart, she did not only an admirable job, but a masterful job guarding both of them. And you can't ask for anything more.
I couldn't agree more in Cage. Before we move off the WNBA, I will say this. Predictions for next year. You put it on the dock, way too early WNBA predictions. Mine, I'm just going to say it, Cage. I think the Las Vegas Aces, barring any big moves, which we will talk about if any big moves are made by any WNBA team coming up into the offseason, but if no big moves are made by the Aces in outs of their lineup, I think, and if Becky Hammond stays, I think is also a big part of this, I see a 3rd straight ring coming to Nevada.
I gotta agree with you. I have to agree with you. Barring catastrophe, I think we're going to see something in which only the Houston Comets have done. And that's win more than 2 straight championships. And I think that'll happen with the Aces. Now, I think these two teams are going to meet again in the WNBA Finals unless something changes. And I think the Liberty will have another year of seasoning, which I think it'll be a lot closer of an NBA Finals, and I would hope it'd be more entertaining than what we saw. But the Aces have been together and have done it. I gotta give the reigning champs the benefit of the doubt until proven otherwise. I got Aces three-peating.
I am obviously, as I said, with you there in a big way. But now, Cage, we're gonna go to the Scrabble board. We're gonna get it out. We're gonna get rid of it quickly.
Oh,
we're gonna get rid of it quickly.
All right.
So are you ready for this?
Yeah, I did not expect it to happen now.
I got 3. That's the goal. I'm trying to confuse you, Cage. Trying to throw up the smoke screens. Okay, I got 3 names. Are you ready?
Okay.
Okay. NLAE
NLAERD.
NLAERD. Do you need a hint?
Yes.
He plays for a team in the Eastern Conference. I'm trying to be a little more, I'm not trying to give it away because I easily could give it away for you. I don't want to give you the team. I'll give you the colors if you need the colors.
Okay, go off with the colors.
Orange with some blue from the Eastern Conference.
Orange with some blue from the Eastern Conference. Okay, okay.
Oh, come on. I gave it away, Cage. I'm giving it to you. I'm giving it to you. He and the reigning MVP just made the news.
And the reigning MVP just made the news. Wait, you're saying yellow, you're saying orange and blue.
Yeah.
Orange and blue.
We have memed him on this show, Cage. Come on. I'm not gonna say you didn't get this one because you should be able to get this one. You're gonna kick yourself when you don't get this one.
I have memed him in the show. Wait a second.
Wait a second. Come on, Cage. You're right there. Eastern Conference. Come on, baby.
Orange and blue. So the only team that I think would be an Eastern Conference team is the Knicks. Oh, wait.
They finally get there, ladies and gentlemen. This has been painful.
This has been painful for me too, because I'm like, yo, what is going on?
I even spelled it right, Kate. I keep looking at it like, did I spell it wrong? Did I spell it wrong? I spelled it right.
NLAER. Oh, Randall. Julius Randall.
Julius Randall. Kajan finally got there. My God, it was like pulling teeth. I felt like I was at that dentist all over again. Julius Randall. And why was he in the media with reigning MVP Joel Embiid? Because they're signing with Skechers. Skechers shoes will be gracing the NBA courts this season.
Oh man.
Or they're Joel Embiid's nearing endorsement with Skechers. I believe Randall, who is in this article, is signed with Skechers. Yes, he is, as well as Terrence Mann from the Clippers are also in Skechers this season. So Kajan finally got there. By God, Kajan. By God. Are you ready for the next one? No, this name is hyphenated.
Okay.
His name is hyphenated. So the first name, ONNRBOIS.
Wait. ONNR.
BOIS. I hope you're playing this at home. I think that's the fun part, Gage. I keep thinking it's just you and I playing this. I hope people at home are playing this, thinking in their head, like, can I write it down? Like, oh, no, where else did they play in the NBA? So you ready for the second name? So hyphen LERA.
Wait, I got it. How did this come to me earlier before Julius Randall? Oh Lord. Jeremiah Robinson Earl.
It is my boy Jeremiah Robertson Earl from Villanova, formerly of the Oklahoma City Thunder. He had himself found a part of the Kevin Porter Jr. trade from the Houston Rockets. So he is now on his way to Houston. As I race to find the actual, I can't believe I can't believe I've done this because I found his name, but I forgot to actually look at the trade.
Oh, it was him, Oladipo.
That's right. It was Victor Oladipo, Jeremiah Robertson Earl, and I believe a draft pick for 2 seconds and Kevin Porter Jr. Actually, no, it was just Jeremiah Robertson Earl, Victor Oladipo, who Oladipo is still hurt with a knee injury. The Thunder get 2 second-round picks and Kevin Porter Jr., who they are probably going to waive. They haven't waived just yet, but they were alleged to waive immediately. We haven't seen any report of that yet, so I'm not sure if that ended up being the case. But yes, so that's why Jeremiah Robertson Earl makes the list. Now, Kajan, the last name. Now, this is not a player. This is a coach. I might give it away right there, but I'll just give you that. Don't think of players, think of coaches. Okay.
I think you already did give it away if I'm thinking who this is.
Well, let me get rid of this. Okay. I'm really proud of this Scrabble. Okay. I'm really proud of the scramble. Okay. Can I tell you?
All right, go ahead.
All right. Well, write down your guess, and none of us will be able to see it, so you're probably lying. But anyway, write down your guess, and then tell me if this is the name. BTTTBISE.
Nate Tibbetts.
It is Nate Tibbetts, and why is he in the news, Cajun? Well, because new Phoenix Mercury owner, Matt Ishbia, has decided that he will be hiring a new head coach, will not be going with a WNBA coach. He's going to be stealing the Orlando Magic assistant, allegedly. At least they're in talks to get him as to be the new head coach. And if he is stolen from the Magic bench to go to the Phoenix Mercury and be the new Mercury head coach, he will be the alleged highest paid coach in all of the WNBA, which then got to make Vegas sweat because let's be honest here, if Tibbetts gets this big contract, you gotta wonder what Becky Hammon's gonna tell Las Vegas, like, hey, time for a pay rise.
Man,
and who could blame her?
I can't.
You still can't believe you messed up on Randall?
I'm bamboozled.
You're baffled.
I'm baffled, especially when Robinson, Earl, and Tibbetts came so easily.
That they did. So with that, I just wanted to mention that Nathan Tibbetts is alleged to become the new highest paid head coach. We'll see if that is true. So that is a 3-for-3 day, Cajun, on the Scrabble board today. I want to take Randall from you. I really want to take Randall from you, but you ended up getting it. You did get it, which makes me happy. You just kind of brain farted your way through it. And now I'm trying to think of what we want to go do next. Go ahead.
Because I was thinking, I'm like, who have we memed? I'm like, I don't know if we've memed Randall like that.
I mean, you made fun of Randall on this show like that.
Yeah, maybe once. I was like, constantly? I'm like, who have I memed constantly aside from Dylan Brooks?
Which will now no longer happen on this show, might I add.
Yeah, it'll no longer happen, Mr. 39.
Mr. Bronze Medal.
Hey, man. Mr. I Beat America. Yeah, it was just like, who the hell? Like, I've memed Randall once because of his playoff ineptitude. Oh, that's because he was an all NBA and all star over Jalen Brunson, which aggravated me to no ends. That's why Randall was mentioned. But yeah, the Nate Tibbetts thing. And the Mercury put out a tweet.
Oh God, I can't believe you actually read it. Okay, continue.
Elite basketball coach, legendary player, girl dad. Really? You're just gonna put girl dad at the end of it there? Like
and call it a day?
And call it a day, like and he's an NBA assistant coach with zero experience in the women's game, and he's the highest paid, and he could be the highest paid coach in the WNBA.
And again, that wasn't like rumored that's happening. It was being finalized. I haven't seen anything that it's been finalized. It was just saying finalized is Nathan Tibbetts to become the new Mercury head coach. So he could be the head coach right now. We just don't know for sure because they haven't released anything just yet. But we'll find out here, Cage. And again, if he is the highest paid head coach, I don't think it'll last very long. I think Las Vegas was like, no. Becky Hammon's the best coach in our league. Becky Hammon's going to be the highest paid coach. Mark Davis will make sure he gets that all fixed up before she walks her way to the NBA, which she already should be in, might I add. But again, before I die on that hill one more time, we're now going to move on to, as I mentioned, with Julius Randle being one of the new being the Skechers poster boy, and now might have to move over and step behind the shadow of reigning MVP Joel Embiid if he does sign with Skechers. Mm-hmm. But his New York Knicks sent a lawsuit the Toronto Raptors way. And MLSE, Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment. If you never knew what that acronym stood for, that's what it stands for. Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment, or MLSE, Kajan's employer at Scotiabank Arena. Owner of the Leafs, the Raptors, the TFC, Toronto Football Club, Argos as well, I believe. I think the only major team they don't own here in Toronto is the Raptors. And I think technically the Rock as well, but not sure people really call them a major team here in Toronto. But anyway, the Raptors have fired back after the lawsuit, and MLSE called this suit baseless and a public relations stunt by the Knicks. So obviously, MLSE has some confidence that this lawsuit will be dropped. And just for a refresher, it is based on the idea that the Raptors obtained sensitive confidential documents from a former employee of the New York Knicks who was trying to get a job with the Toronto Raptors. The Raptors have obviously denied any wrongdoing, and the Knicks have said that the Raptors have had have illegally procured thousands of property or of files that they were not supposed to have access to. So we'll see how that plays out in court, but obviously you know MLSE, regardless of if they did it or not, are going to say that it's baseless and that it never happened. But if this lawsuit does not go the way of the New York Knicks, Cage, and I'm not going to pick a side here and it's our debate, I'll let the courts figure that out for me. But if this lawsuit doesn't go in favor of the New York Knicks, I think it continues to make James Dolan, owner of the New York Knicks and the New York Rangers, and I think he technically also owns Madison Square Garden as well, as his father did previously. It'll continue to make James Dolan of the New York Knicks look like an absolute joke. Because he is a joke, but it's going to make it look worse.
I was about to say, he isn't already.
He is with kicking out Charles Oakley at the Garden and some other things he's done in the past and all the other things he's been accused of, but it will continue to taint what he's done for the New York Knicks organization.
Which is?
Own it. They haven't moved. They haven't relocated. They've contended have contended in his ownership.
Aside from 99, which was just improbable in itself. 2000.
That was Jeff Van Gundy, wasn't it? Their head coach was Jeff Van Gundy, which is amazing. New Boston Celtics executive.
That one year in which they advanced past the first round in 2013. And then last season. You're like, come on now. James Dolan, great owner? Come on.
Oh, never. No, I don't think any human being on earth ever said that, Cage. But still, it would continue to make him look like a joke.
Unless you're a member of James Dolan's family. And I don't think any James Dolan's family members even think that.
Well, and God forbid they did, Cajun. I'm not sure they'd come on any show to say it.
Oh, man. But Masai said this best. There's been one time a team has sued a team in the NBA. One time, go figure. So, based off of that, he probably has had enough of James Dolan.
Oh, who hasn't?
And hey, now this probably might be a conspiracy theory. But Dolan did get fleeced by in that Bargnani trade.
Oh God, not the Bargnani trade.
Il mago primo pasta. And then was so scared off by that. Nixed the Kyle Lowry trade, which he was supposed to go to New York. I think Iman Shumpert was supposed to come back to go to Toronto.
Isn't that where dreams are made of, Cajun? New York?
Allegedly.
I can't even think who sang that song. But anyway, continue.
And this was the 2013-14 season when it looked like the Raptors were going to tank. And then they went on that run, which embarked the We the North moniker, and eventually down the line led to an NBA championship, which kind of changed like the trajectory of everything of this franchise. Um, I think this man's taking it like now. This might be conspiracy theory, but based off of those two, he might be taking it personal. Like
Well,
based off
took him long enough, Kajan.
based off of Dolan's history, I
Wouldn't put anything
don't.
past him, Cage. Wouldn't put anything past him.
I wouldn't put it like I wouldn't put anything past him, and I, based off of his history, I don't think there's any merit to this.
You wouldn't hope, but if this lawsuit does come to fruition and the Knicks win over the Raptors, then I think you really need to look at Masai Ujiri. And yes, he's done a good job, great job even. Yes, he's won a championship for the organization. Yes, he's been easily the best GM / president of basketball ops the Raptors have ever had. But at some point, somebody overstays their welcome. And Masai may be at that point if this does come true for the Raptors side of this. And maybe this is the kick that MLSE needs to make a change at the top of the tree.
Well, it doesn't help. It doesn't help that Edward Rogers is playing a role in that. Because I think, like, I believe when like Masai had signed that extension, actually that would be a story. That's a story for another day. But there's already like turmoil in MLSC because of like the Raptors' lack of direction.
Which is their own fault, by the way, but
yeah,
we can talk about that when the season starts in a couple weeks.
But if this comes to fruition, like that lack of direction combined with this, you gotta wonder, like, fresh blood might be needed.
Fresh blood may be needed. We'll see if it is instituted by the Raptors, that they go to the blood bank. But we'll see. Now, Kevin Porter Jr., as you mentioned, with Jeremiah Robertson Earl. So Kevin Porter Jr., who was put on the trade block after his, I'm not sure it was an arrest, Kajan, but his warrant for sure.
He was arrested, I think.
He was arrested for domestic violence. Well, regardless, he was charged with it. I know that for sure. And Kevin Porter Jr., who was put on the trade block by the Rockets, was traded to the Oklahoma City Thunder for Jeremiah Robertson Earl and Victor Oladipo. Now you think, okay, why would they do that? It's for the 2 second-round picks in 2027 and 2028. 2027 pick is a Minnesota Timberwolves pick, and the 2028 second-round pick is a Milwaukee Bucks pick. So, and second-round picks are definitely not seen as good commodities in the NBA. I agree with that, but, the Thunder, as I texted you, occasionally when I saw this trade, even though I didn't know Robertson Earl and Oladipo were going the other way, continuing to add draft capital, even though they look like a team that could contend, made the play-in last year. They're still adding draft picks, waiting for that moment to buy and get a star or a co-star for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And you may think, okay, why did they trade these two guys? Well, I assume it's because Jeremiah Robertson Earl doesn't fit in the rotation, because there's so many good young players in Oklahoma City right now that eventually you're going to have to find the right mix. Kind of like what's happening in Detroit, what's going to be happening in Houston one day, is you have so many good young players, it's now finding the right mix of those young players to play. Who plays in what spots, who comes off the bench, who starts, etc. So obviously Jeremiah Robertson Earl, who did start some games last year, it didn't fit into that plan. And then Victor Oladipo is just damaged goods at this point. He is so talented, but his knees have been absolutely trashed. He's had other injuries throughout the years with every team he's played for previously, including formerly of Oklahoma City before this most recent tenure, technically. So I don't know if he'll even play this year, I think was even the report with his knee injury. He might even play this year for Houston. So he, again, is just damaged goods. This is basically just Jeremiah Robertson Earl for 2 second-round picks, which isn't that bad a value at the end of the day. as much as I do like Robertson Earl and think he can be a productive NBA player, most likely off the bench, but still, I like Robertson Earl.
I mean,
And again, as we mentioned, Cage, I think it's the bigger story is the Oklahoma City Thunder are immediately waiving Kevin Porter Jr. I still haven't seen a report saying he's been waived and he's a free agent, but you'd still think, even though if you think about Kevin Porter Jr. on the Oklahoma City Thunder, you think, oh my God, that team's going to be disgusting. But then you think, but off the court, it's going to cause problems in Oklahoma City. So we'll see if Kevin Porter Jr. has a spot going into the regular season. I'm going to go with no at this point. I don't think anyone takes a bite on Kevin Porter Jr. this year. I could see him maybe going overseas for a season, kind of like what Trevor Bauer's doing, obviously for completely different reasons, but still same kind of idea. Just stay in game shape and then come back next year after kind of all the headlines have gone away and people have seen how talented he is and stuff like that. Because again, Kevin Porter Jr. is an amazing basketball player. He just has run the wire thin between off the court affecting on the court. And he's had problems with the law before. He got traded out of Cleveland to Houston for basically this reason, and not just the domestic violence, but just off the court issues. And now he's been traded again, and most likely going to become a free agent and get to pick where he plays. But we'll see if anyone's willing to pick him.
I know one team that might.
What are you thinking?
The one team that still has this person on the roster, who has no business being on the roster, the Charlotte Hornets.
That's a fair point. Yeah, that's a fair point. Miles Bridges, they could be the new Jailblazers.
Yes,
Which,
sir.
if you didn't know, that was the early 2000s Portland Trailblazers when they had, out of their 12-guy rotation, which they had 12 guys who had been All-Stars or All-NBA players in seasons before, of all different ages and shapes. And they had like 8 guys who had been charged by Portland police for a litany of different things. I think a battery was in there. There was some drug possessions, a lot of drug possessions across the board, and etc. So yeah, we called them a jailblazers. Well, I guess you and I didn't. You probably did. I wasn't alive really to be able to call them that. But the Jailblazers were really a thing, and maybe the Hornets will be the new ones. But before we move on from Kevin Porter Jr., I want to mention this. So Gondrzik, the former WNBA player that was his girlfriend, I assume ex-girlfriend from the report, she said that he never balled up his fist and hit me, and I quote. And she continued, and he definitely didn't punch me in the face numerous times. That is a lie. I don't have any injuries to support that. So what it sounds like, and again, the injuries are sustained a laceration to the right side of her face and complaining about neck pain in her neck, and was transported to hospital after the alleged attack, I should say. So I'm not going to say that Kevin Porter Jr. didn't hit her. But I think we're now getting into that point, Kajan, of objectifying. Was it a punch? Was it a slap? Was it, was it like a kind of like a flick where he kind of like pushed her away and caught her with a nail or something, made a laceration, which is basically just a cut. Depending on how deep, depends on the word use. Pardon me. But maybe this saves him, Cage. If Gondrzik says that he didn't hit her really, like it was an altercation they had and he won, kind of thing. Which again, he's still wrong for, Cage, and you and I both can say that without kidding ourselves that that's wrong.
Yeah.
But maybe that saves him if Miss Gondrzik continues to not defend him, but say that it's not the way they reported it, kind of thing. But we shall see if Kevin Porter Jr. does find a team before the season begins in literally about a week or so, about 5 days.
I think this has been mishandled. Like the prosecution and cops. It sounds like this was a mishandling from the jump, because I'm looking at this here. Now it wasn't only an inches long gash. She had it was when this came out, it said that she had a fractured vertebrae.
Which I think she does. They just couldn't prove that Kevin Porter Jr. did it.
No,
I
no,
think
no.
that's been the problem.
Well, no. See, here's the thing. Like the assistant district attorney in during like a hearing on like in like the Manhattan criminal court was she actually like the assistant district attorney actually conceded that the fractured vertebrae was because of a congenital defect and it wasn't actually caused by Kevin Porter Jr. And that's why the second degree and KPJ was charged with second degree assault, and that got dropped this week. Now he still faces charges of second degree strangulation and third degree assault, but
We'll see if they stick now.
yeah, because like when it first came out, that was the big one, the fractured vertebrae. And now that we found out, now that it came out that that wasn't actually caused by Kevin Porter Jr. and that was like a defect, that gives merit to maybe this case does get thrown out and KPJ walks out free. I don't know. I don't think a majority of teams would still want to deal with that situation. There are a couple of teams that have had spotty histories. Hello, Charlotte Hornets. Um, that might take on a talent like him. It remains to be. Now, we don't condone domestic violence around here.
I hope not.
We don't. We don't. And he shouldn't, like, based off of what had happened, he shouldn't have a place.
Until the necessary requirements are made that he goes to, I'll say, therapy. He works on himself and ensures this will not happen again, kind of thing. Because I believe in second chances personally.
That's fair. But neither again, Miles Bridges doesn't deserve one yet. Here we are right now.
Exactly, and he's gonna get, I think, a third chance technically.
Maybe. Like holy, like that situation in Charlotte is a mess.
In and of itself, it's definitely messy down there in Carolina. Of the North variety, I believe.
Mm.
But we will move on from Kevin Porter Jr. We're now going to do some quick fire here so we can get to Harden at the end. Because we are going to talk about James Harden. Oh, we're going to talk about James Harden. Jordan Poole dropped 41 points yesterday in 27 minutes at MSG over the New York Knicks in a Washington Wizards big win over those Knickerbockers down in New York at the Garden. Some other performances I want to talk about, Cage, before we kind of dive into performances you liked. Steph Curry and De'Aaron Fox dropped 30 and 25 respectively. Curry 30, Fox 25 in a 116-115 win for Golden State.
Curry had the game winner.
Of course he did. Leonard Williams, Canadian for the Minnesota Timberwolves, had 22 and 15 rebounds off the bench, shooting 71% from the floor. Also to mention, Luka Garza had 30 in the game. They were playing against an overseas team, but still, Leonard Williams having 22 and shooting really efficiently and having 15 rebounds is pretty good to see for a guy that we talked about during the Rookie of the Year conversation, or rookies we like that were a little bit lower down to the pecking order of Rookie of the Years and draft picks.
Yeah. Hey, it may have been against an Israel team. I want to say it is, yeah. But it's an encouraging performance nonetheless. Garza had 30, holy, and
the Iowa State legend, or Iowa legend, probably. He was a Hawkeye.
And I want to say, like in any other situation, getting drafted by the Timberwolves would be a bad thing. But they do have some good talent going on there in Minnesota with Ant. They got some talent. Jaden McDaniels, Naz Reid, they got some veteran presence. Mike Conley, Rudy Gobert. I know you hate this man.
I know you were gonna say it. I know you were getting there, Kajan.
But Karl Anthony Towns is a good talent. A good talent. If I said great, that would have.
Oh, great! If you said great, I'd be coming to the I'd be coming through the bloody Skype call.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good talent, nonetheless. It's not like he's a scrub, but I digress.
Yeah, he's not Kevin Knox, but he's not too far away. Anyway, continue.
He might be Kevin Knox in the playoffs, though. Like,
Probably.
But he's in a better situation than, say, if he got drafted by Minnesota in 2014. Then he was like, what are we doing? But he's going to be one of those guys that, like, it might be a la Shaden Sharp. Like, he'll show flashes, but I don't think it'll really show, like, it won't really show dividends until maybe his second or third season.
Yeah, obviously, I'll say but basically what you're saying is Leonard Williams is not a finished product. It's going to take time for him to hit his ceiling, but he will show what he's got.
Leonard Miller,
pardon me. Leonard Miller will show what he's got and that he's got some star potential, and adding to this young core of Canadians, Cage, that is making you and I just mouthwater going into an Olympics in 2028. Yes, 2024, Canada's already qualified to go to Paris this summer, which is going to be great. You and I are going to be covering the whole bloody thing.
Yep.
If we're there because we're with, I'll say, CTV, or we're there because you and I are just covering the basketball here on the podcast, which you probably will anyway, try to anyway, at least. But, you and I are going to have some fun with that, because that's going to be amazing.
It will be indeed.
But that 2028 team, Cage, is already looking gross with all the young Canadians coming into the league and some of the veterans and just it. If you made a projected 2028 Olympic team with what these guys could be in 4 years, my goodness.
Shea's gonna be 29. Like, holy.
Shaden Sharp is gonna be a star, you'd think. Leonard Miller, Zach Edey. You still got Murray. You still got Wiggins. Which guard am I missing, Cage? Which guard am I missing? Shea, Murray. What? Sorry.
Dylan Brooks.
No, what's the other main guard? It's Gilgeous-Alexander. It's Murray, and it's Barrett, of course, RJ Barrett, who also again will be there. He's still a kid basically, because he got put in the league at 19. So the Canadian team is good. It's only going to get better from here, Cage. But I think is the best part. They have a bronze medal at the World Cup. They're going to the 2024 Olympics, and it can only get better from here. Think about that. Anyway, we'll continue. East, the Adam Silver has decided to come back out and start talking about basketball again. I don't know who decided that was a good idea, Kajan. I don't know who told him to say this, but apparently they're considering changing the All-Star game again. What are they going to change it to, you may ask? I'm here for you. East and West. They may go back to the East versus the West in the All-Star game instead of doing the draft format. Now, I'll be honest, Cage. I personally prefer the East versus the West. But I will concede that I think ratings would be better for a draft, because then you can watch the draft on TNT and you get to hear the guys kind of chuckle about it, and the two captains are drafting, and you got Barkley and you got Shaq and obviously Ernie, and it's just jokes, and the game happens. But I also will be honest in saying I prefer East versus West. I also will not be watching it because I do not care enough to watch All-Star games of any variety. They all suck. Pro Bowl sucks. MLB All-Star games garbage. NBA All-Star games garbage. NHL All-Star games garbage. All of them are horrible. They're wastes of time. I would like to think the honor should stay, because then you can be paid an incentive to make the All-Star game, quote unquote. But there's no point in actually hosting the game. Just give the guys the day off. Just give them the 4 or 5 games off. 4 or 5 days off.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not something that anyone actually wants to watch, because there's no effort. Because what happens if you get injured in the All-Star game and done for the season? You tear your ACL in the All-Star game. You know how dumb that would be? You know how angry your team would be if you're the one giving effort and you get hurt? So there's just no point to it. Just get rid of it, honestly, Adam Silver. Just get rid of it. Just you already got that in-season tournament thing. Just get rid of the All-Star game. Just get rid of it altogether. Have the honor and say he's this year's All-Star. So if you're injured, you're still an All-Star. There's no replacement garbage. There's no argument of who should be in, who should be out. Just who are the All-Stars? This many guards, so many forwards, so many centers, whatever, and call it a day. Call it a day.
Yep.
In my opinion, Cage, you got anything to add?
I don't.
Works for me because I think you and I can't say enough. The All-Star game is booty and not the good kind. So now to the good kind of booty, Cajun. James Harden.
Is it
a
really?
Transition? Do you think that was a good transition? I thought it was pretty good.
Is it really good booty though?
I mean, when he was in Houston, he was big, wasn't he? Oh my God. He looked like he was a Michelin man out there. My God.
Allegedly, he had a fat suit on, but
yeah, okay. Nah, he just ate an extra cheeseburger on the way to work. Anyway.
What from Shake Shack?
From I don't even know where. I don't even know what's in Philly. I've never been to Philly. Thank goodness.
So before we get to that, we mentioned Jordan Poole dropping 41.
We did.
In MSG, he's been known for playing well in front of courtside baddies. Just made sense. Just made sense for him to drop 41 like that.
Well, we'll see if the attractive girls show up to Washington in the District of Columbia to see if he continue playing that way there for the Washington Wizards, or if inconsistencies continue to follow him from Golden State. But as I mentioned, James Harden. So let's start where we're going to talk about on Monday, which is literally 3 days ago. I was a car fix away, Cajun, at that point. Now, my car is now fixed. Thank goodness, by the way. So James Harden came out and said that the relationship with Daryl Morey is irreparable, is unfixable, but said he plans to play basketball. That's for sure. That's basically a quote. I paraphrased the words. He said, and then he continued, when you lose trust in someone, it's like a marriage. ... He continued the quote. You lose trust in someone. You know what I mean? It's pretty simple. And then he never pointed it. He never said Morey's name in this interview. He only said the front office. The front office. The front office. Anyway. It continued. So that was the quote we were going to talk about on Monday. How he said the relationship was irreparable, was messed beyond reproach, but he was going to play basketball. Now I don't know if he's going to play basketball, Cajun, because James Harden has just no-showed practice yesterday. So let's talk about it, Cajun. So James Harden no-shows Wednesday's team's practice. The former MVP has not been present with the club since Sunday. It is now Thursday. Still no report of James Harden being in the Philadelphia training facility.
He was allegedly
as of today, as of right now at 11:35.
He was allegedly at a club in Houston.
He subsequently traveled from the 76ers practice facility to Houston. Harden didn't attend any 76ers preseason contest and has taken part in just one team scrimmage over 14 days of training camp. So he's been in one practice in over 2 weeks. Not a good look. Is expected to participate in Wednesday's practice. What was expected to participate in yesterday's practice. However, the 10-time All-Star remains frustrated at the lack of progress towards a trade to the Los Angeles Clippers. And then it continues talking about how he wants to go to Los Angeles and how that trade would be able to work for both teams. And we're not even going to talk about Embiid in this. But, Cage, my question to you is very simple. And I want to go first, but I do want your opinion first because I'm probably going to go on a tangent and scream for 15 minutes, and then I'm just going to want to end the show. Or you're going to get your thoughts out first. How badly has James Harden handled this situation? In your opinion?
Well, I saw an article headline that was like, James Harden works the hardest at avoiding hard work. That kind of sums up how I feel about this, because and it's just like, it happened in Houston. Okay, Houston, you can kind of understand. Like, he was with that franchise and tried to make it work for so long. You understood Houston. Brooklyn, he went about it the same way, demanded a trade. But there were a ton of problems in Brooklyn in the first place. But the way this unfolded in Philadelphia, that's all him. Like, now you out here talking about like this is a marriage, you're losing trust in him. I'm like, yo, like, what is this? The NBA or soap opera or a soap opera? Like, come on.
It's getting to the point, Cajun, where it feels like we're keeping up with the Kardashians every week. And now I'm gonna be completely honest with you, Cajun. I hate reality television.
There's more reality television than keeping up with the Kardashians, and I never thought I'd be saying this.
At least Tristan Thompson's back in the league. Continue.
The great Tristan Thompson from Brampton's finest.
Maybe at the Olympics if he has a really good performance.
Hey, they do need some bigs.
They do need some size.
Yeah, and he can rebound the basketball.
Unless he's not wearing a Cleveland shirt in the finals, then he can't rebound. But as long as he's not wearing a Cleveland shirt, you should be fine.
But this has just been mishandled by Harden from the get-go. And fantasy-wise, I'm looking brilliant for drafting Tyrese Maxey. Because boy, oh boy, is he going to go off. But it's just something that, like... And I think the bigger problem to all this is that no other team wants Harden but the Clippers. And the Clippers aren't competing with anybody. So they're far apart in trade talks. Because, like, why are we going to offer more? Or, like, the Clippers are going to be like, why are we offering more to Harden when no other team, when we're not competing with anyone? Credit the Clippers. They're still title contenders if they're healthy, and they're remaining firm in their stance. So this is going to be something that's going to be drawn out. And I think based off of
like it has on already, but continue.
Even if he does get fined, I think this is just one of those things where like Harden just wants out no matter what, and will take the fines. And this will get worse before it gets better, as if it hasn't already.
Exactly.
The only way this will really solve is if a trade happens, but I don't see that happening anytime soon unless the Sixers kind of get him for pennies on the dollar at this point. And at this point, like, I can see that happening.
Well, Cage, I want to put this in perspective. So he started his first 3 years in Oklahoma City, where he never should have left, but they made a decision. They trade him away. They trade him to Houston. They make some cap space. He instantly becomes a starter, goes from averaging 17 points off the bench in basically 31 minutes to averaging 36 points a game in 38 minutes a night, starting every single game, 78 games total for the Houston Rockets.
Mm-hmm.
He ended up winning an MVP. Arguably, he should have won a couple more with Houston. He played, if I'm trying to count this right, Cage, he played 7 years with Houston from age 23 to age 30. James Harden played for the Houston Rockets. He played one more year technically, but he only played 8 games, so I'm not including that. Had some 30-plus point years, including 3 in a row his last 3 years in Houston, averaging a career high 36 in 2018-19. But since that run with the Houston Rockets, which ended up being 9 total seasons, 621 games for the Houston Rockets, he has now played for 3 different organizations, including the Rockets. He went from the Rockets to the Nets to Philly, and now he's looking for another organization to pick him up. How do you go from playing that many years in one location in Houston to basically now being from Houston to Brooklyn, immediately getting traded from Brooklyn to Philly, and now playing 1 year in Philly, and he's already looking for another trade and may not play this year for Philly, which will mean he's played in, if I'm not mistaken, since 2020, 2021, he will have played in 4 different locations. And that's 3 years, basically, for age 31 to going into age 34 season for James Harden. So, I I don't know what James is doing. And again, I just don't get it. You know, Kevin Durant spent so long with Oklahoma City. All of a sudden, he's switching teams every 3 years. James Harden spent so much time in Houston. Now he's switching teams every 3 years. And maybe it's ring chasing. Maybe that's the logic behind it. But demanding trades and doing this the wrong way. If you want to chase a ring, that's fine. That's your prerogative. That's your right. You have a free agency. You have those reasons. Sign 1 or 2 year deals. Do not sign a 4-year deal and then just expect to be able to demand a trade and leave. That's ridiculous. That's not how the world works. That's not how work works. Because as much as I love the sport and love sport as a concept, I also know this is a job. So do your job, because most people, Kajan, most people, when they don't show up to work, don't get paid. Not only do they not get do they get fired, they don't get paid.
Yep.
He's going to get paid regardless of if he shows up, because his money's guaranteed. His contract is fully insured and guaranteed. He's going to get paid regardless of if he plays or not. He'll be fined a percentage, but it'll be a fraction of what he will make this season of his, $35 million player option? Something like that?
Yep.
So, no, I am getting beyond frustrated with NBA players, with the demanding of trades and the seemingly just no care about the business and the contract you signed. And because I'm a star, I should be able to go wherever I want, whenever I want, regardless of where I'm signed to, what's going on, what's going on with the organization. Does not matter. You trade me when I say I want to be traded. It's an entitlement. It's a whole thing for me, and I hate it. And it's going to continue to fester until the NBA does something about this and fixes this. And I'm not sure they can, Cage. At this point, I'm not sure they can put this ketchup back in the bottle. I'm not sure the toothpaste can go back in the tube. But I'm hoping they can fix it, because this is getting ridiculous. It's getting ridiculous how players are just all of a sudden, I don't want to play for this team anymore. I'm going to get traded. What? Like, what? Like, okay, I do that, I guess. I don't know what the hell's going on here. Like, Kyrie's done it a couple times. Harden's done it now a couple times. Kevin Durant's done it a couple times. It's just, for me, it's compounding, Cage. It's really getting under my skin. And I'm not really blaming James for this, because he's not the first one. He won't be the last one. But, it's getting to that point where I'm just shaking my head like, what's the point anymore? What's the point of even the contract if the guys can go wherever they want, whenever they want, regardless of consequence? And not like it matters, because they're all getting paid between $30 and $60 million a season to play basketball in the NBA. Like, what's the incentive to stop them? What's the, how do we stop the stars from, doing this kind of stuff? The answer is we can't. So expect more of stuff like this, is I guess what I'm saying. I hate it. I hate it with every fiber of my being. But expect more of this. Expect more of players like James Harden, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, etc. Anthony Davis, when he left, New Orleans, forced his way out. Different circumstance, but same thing. Forced his way out. And I'm not blaming Anthony Davis. What he did was right. He spent time in New Orleans, tried to make it work, couldn't make it work, he left. That's fine. But doing it 2 more times after the Los Angeles Lakers in like a 3 or 4 year span, now that's getting ridiculous. You do it once, okay. You do it a second time, maybe you're the problem. You do it a third time, Cage, I think we all can look at you and say you're the problem. Mm-hmm. If you're in if he's gonna say a marriage, Cage, I'm gonna pull a shit and share. If you're in a relationship, and say we're friends, Cage, you're in a relationship, you go through 3 girlfriends in 6 months, and you're talking to me how bad they are. You not think I'm gonna look at you, Cage, and say maybe you're the problem? Maybe it's you. If it's 3 girls in 6 months, Cage, you've gone through 3 girls in 6 months. Maybe you're the problem. Maybe it's your fault. Maybe you got to look internal and figure out, why am I making a problem? Why am I causing all these things to go wrong? Instead of pointing the finger at everybody else and saying, hey, it's that guy's fault. It's the guy that I'm blaming up in the front office that brought me here, that I've known for 13 years in the NBA. It's his fault. Can't be mine. I'm getting paid $35 million. Can't be my fault. But I think that's where I'll end it there, Cage, for my rant on James Harden and the situations going on. It's boiling me and it's getting under my skin and it's going to continue to get on my skin because I know it's going to get worse. It's only going to get worse from here because they're not going to fix it. The NBA can't fix it, won't fix it, however you want to say it. And it's going to get worse because players that don't have that kind of tenure are going to start doing this. You're going to have players on rookie deals doing this, like people thought Zion was going to do in New Orleans.
Thankfully, he hasn't.
Thankfully, he's been injured to do it. He's been injured. He's barely played. So who would even want him because of his injuries? But regardless, it's going to get to that point where players are going to come into the league and not play for those teams and just say, I'm not playing for them. I want to play for this team.
Mm.
And they're not going to play. So, I hope I'm wrong. I hope the NBA can fix this and make this a more, if you sign the contract, you're going to show up to work. I don't care you're not happy. You're going to show up to work. But I don't know really where the NBA goes from here, which is again even the scarier thing for me. I don't know where they go.
Because if they try to fix this and put their foot down, players got a lot of power, man. Like, players have a lot of power now.
Too much power, in my opinion. Too much power. And I'm for the athletes. I am not a owner sympathizer. I am not. In any CBA, I want the players to get everything they want and more because they've earned it. But in this scenario, there's no other profession on earth you could do this and expect success. No other profession on earth. Even in other major sports, you couldn't do this. Hockey players don't do this. Football players do to an extent, but normally they hold up for better contracts because if you didn't know, which I will tell you right now, football players don't have fully guaranteed contracts. In the most contact sport we have in North America, they don't have fully guaranteed contracts. What does that mean, Spencer? Quick explanation. So in the NBA, if you sign a contract for $35 million like James Harden, that money is guaranteed. Regardless of if you get injured, if you get cut, if you get traded, you are paid every dollar of that contract. In the NFL, you sign a number value and then a guaranteed value. So what does that mean? So if you get hurt or cut, you don't get paid the total, you get paid the guaranteed. So if you sign a $40 million contract and get $10 million guaranteed, you're only going to get paid $10 million because they will cut you before they pay you the rest of that money. That's why guarantees are so important in the NFL. Because these guys are throwing themselves at the ground and getting in, as George Kittle said, 3 and 4 car crashes every Sunday or Monday or Thursday, if it's a short week, which is just torture, I would expect.
Mm.
So they damn want their guaranteed money. And Kajan, I'm damn with them. Give them the guaranteed money. I wouldn't play either if I was going to throw myself at the ground 100 times and not get paid money and be cut in 3 years because I have no more guarantees left and they can cut me at no cost to themselves financially or cap space wise.
Mm.
But that's the difference. That's the difference. Is these contracts are fully guaranteed. These guys are getting paid regardless. And they're still being prima donnas. They're still trying to force their way out of every location when the going gets tough. And again, and I'm going to end it here for sure because I'm getting more heated as I continue to talk because I do that sometimes. The resistance, the passion, the resilience of human beings I found is going down, and I hate it. I hate that people fold when the going gets tough.
Mm-hmm.
I hate that people don't have any resiliency anymore, don't have the willingness to just continue to push, even though it may not be working at first. I wish James Harden would stick it out in Philly for one more year, finish out his contract, say, I'm not happy here, I want to be traded, but I'm going to do this professionally, I'm going to do this the right way, I'm going to play out my contract, or I'm going to be traded to where I want to go. Like what it seemed like Damian Lillard was going to do in Portland before he was traded. Because that was the right way to do it. James Harden doing it the wrong way. Kyrie Irving did it the wrong way. Kevin Durant did it the wrong way. In my opinion.
Kevin Durant?
I believe KD did it, didn't he? Forced his way out of Brooklyn?
No, he got injured. He got traded when he was injured.
But didn't he did he come right back with Phoenix though? Wasn't that one of those phony injuries? Or am I conflating that?
No. He
Well,
was in
regardless, Kevin Durant started all this going to Golden State. So you know what? I blame Kevin Durant too. Kevin Durant does still get some blame here. Okay, maybe I'm picking the wrong situation, Cage, but he's still getting some damn blame here for going to Golden State and starting this whole snafu of chasing rings and making it basically guaranteeing yourself a ring. But anyway, so I hope that some young athletes come into this sport and add back the resiliency. And I'm not saying stick with a franchise for 20 years like John Stockton did, like Karl Malone did, like other players have. Dominique Wilkins. And they played for other teams, Malone and Wilkins, but still, they stuck it out a long time with their original franchises. I don't expect them to play 20 years for the team, Cage, but I expect you, when you demand a trade from your location, go somewhere else, you don't immediately demand a trade again in 2 years. Because then that just makes you look like an idiot. Like, okay, maybe you are the problem. Maybe it's you. You know, if you can't work in this organization and that organization, maybe it's you. Like Kyrie Irving, maybe it's you. I'm not saying it's you. It could be you're wrong guy, wrong place, wrong time. It's possible. But maybe it's you. Just vote on the possibility, Cage. Maybe it's you.
Well, I know you're peeved right now, but I do want to end this on a positive note or a funny note.
I'll take that. We'll end it on a positive.
Or a funny note. What in the world was Stephen A. Smith wearing?
Oh, last night. So if you didn't know, I'll explain this. This will be dropped James Harden in that shenaniganery, as Jalen would say, my roommate. The New York Liberty and Las Vegas Aces game last night in Brooklyn at the Barclays Center. Obviously, Stephen A. working in New York for ESPN on First Take. He came in and Cage, I don't remember what his jacket color was, but I know he was wearing a black hat that was backwards. That was right down to his eyebrows, so you couldn't see his hairline. I guess that was the intent. And yeah, it was a look, Cage. It was a look. He looked like a frat boy to me. What did he look like to you?
According to First Take today, an undercover cop from 21 Jump Street.
You know, I'll take that, honestly. You know, he's not Channing Tatum though. He's definitely Jonah Hill. He's definitely Jonah Hill.
He's closer to the physique of Channing Tatum though than Jonah Hill.
No, he ain't.
Closer.
Yeah. That's the thing. The Titanic was close to getting to its destination. Yeah, Gage. If it wasn't, a couple kilometers down in the ocean, we probably would have got to its destination, Gage.
Hey man, I'm trying to give him some credit here.
You don't need to throw Stephen A. life raft, okay? He's getting paid like $100 million from ESPN. We don't need to throw him a life raft, okay? We can leave him out there with the buoy. Okay, he can find his way back to shore. You can say it like it is. He looked like a biker that got kicked out of the biker bar.
Fair enough.
With that leather jacket, he looked like a high school alumni back in a basketball game. Like I'm gonna be tonight. That's what he looked like, Cage. He looked like an alumni watching a game, wearing like the puffy jacket with says champion on it or whatever with the school name and the backwards hat on because he thinks he's cool. He was just like 30 years too late for that. About 30. Any other comparisons you want to make, Cage? You want to end her off?
No, we'll end it there.
We will end it there. So, 4 polar opposites. Cajun Theory with Danny Castle. I'm Spencer Byers. Thank you so much for taking us in here today. We'll be back on Monday for your regularly scheduled programming of Polar Opposites here on the Outrage Inc.